I've been asked quite a number of times in the comments now, how do you change a filter on a gas mask? And I thought that was a bit straightforward, so I haven't done a video on it yet, because you obviously just take it off and put it back on. But I think what people are more interested in is if you were in a situation where there was gas you couldn't breathe in, how do you change the filter, you know, and put a new one on and all that and stay safe? Now, I've read different guides on how you're meant to do it, so I'm just going to pick what makes the most sense to me. Obviously, if you want to do it another way, look up another guide, but I'm going to pick the one that sounds the most practical. Now, I've not got a second spare filter that I'm going to unwrap, so what I'm just going to do is take this filter off and just replace that filter to demonstrate it. I'm also going to kind of give you a talk through of what we're going to do before I do it, because I can't really hold my breath and then talk and explain all the steps as we go. So basically, you have the mask on your face, and when you know that your filter's running out, so the particulate filter's clogging up, it's hard to breathe, or you start to smell stuff through the filter, you know that, like, you know, obviously that filter's gone, you need to replace it. So, while you've still got a little bit of life left in that filter, you'd get your spare filter and you'd unwrap it, you know, take the plugs off, and this is when you do the filter switch over. So, in reality, you just bin this filter, you know, as soon as you took it off the mask, you just throw it. And then you put your new filter straight on you had ready. What I'm going to do is just take the filter off, just kind of, you know, do that with my hand to demonstrate as if I was picking up my new unsealed filter. Then we'll go through it. Right, I'm going to demonstrate this with two masks. I'm going to demonstrate this with my Israeli Shalon 4A1 and my Avon FM12. So you get one on the side and one on the front. This is the same process for 40mm GOST or 60mm NATO filters. But, you know, obviously not cheek filters and not like GSR filters or the weird, you know, proprietary filters. But this is what you do. The process in theory is the same for every mask where you can change the filter, but obviously we're just going to look at screw-in filters. An important thing to note, when you look at a gas mask, your Titan filter, it's always righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. When the mask is on your face, obviously it's facing the other way, so tightening it left to your left is normally the way that would make it tighter. So make sure, obviously, if you practice this, so you know which direction to turn your hand when you've got the mask on. Right, so without further ado, let's test the masks. Right, so first 4A1. So, as I just said, when you're doing this, turning it left when you've got the filter on would be the way to do it. So, okay, right, I know my filter's running out, I can start to smell stuff or breathing's getting difficult. So what do? First thing I need to do is get my other filter ready, obviously. So let's just say that's ready to go on the mask. What we're going to do is then take a very deep breath so we can change the filter over. But before we start breathing when the new filter's on, we're going to purge the mask. And that's just in case any gas has got into the mask while I was changing the filter. There's meant to be an intake valve that stops that happening, but you never know. Now on masks where you can easily put your hand over the exhale valve, you're meant to do that and then breathe out. On a mask like this where the exhale valve's kind of partially covered, what we're actually going to do is just do a big breath out, okay. So here goes, I'm ready to change my filter. There you go. That's the process for changing the filter. So now you've seen it on the Shalon 4A1, we're going to demonstrate it on the Avon FM12. So here we have the Avon FM12, the process is exactly the same. With this mask, to tighten I turn it towards me, to loosen it I turn it away from me. So as I was saying, make sure you do familiar yourselves with how a mask's filters works. Now on a mask like this, you change one filter and then the other. But bear in mind, if you had got it set up on a dual filter setup, you would need to make sure that you always have one, you know, a filter on each side, because you can't take one off and then breathe through the other filter, because if you do that, you'll compromise the sealer mask. I suppose if you were partway through changing the filter, you could block this side of your hand if you had another filter on it, then breathe through that other filter. This is the FM12 that only takes one filter for some reason. But for example on my CT12 what I could do is if I, you know, messed up changing the filter partway through, I could cover the filter intake for the side that hadn't got a filter on, you know, swap that filter, you know, hold my hand over it, breathe through the other filter for a bit, then carry on swapping the filter and then repeat the process if I need to. But as I've sort of mentioned before, if you have a mask with dual filters, each filter will last longer, but they'll start running out at roughly the same time. So, okay, same process. There we go. Nice and simple to change them once you know the process. As I was saying, some masks like the Scott GSR and a few others have the proprietary filters that won't let you breathe in when you're changing the filters. That's actually a good idea because it means that you can leave one filter on one side, change the other one at whatever pace you want. There's no chance of breathing sort of poison air into the mask. And then once you've done that, obviously you can repeat the other filter. The issue I have with the GSR though as well is that as much as that's a good system, it's really hard to actually line the bayonets up to try and change the filter over. With 40mm filters it doesn't really matter, as long as you roughly line it up the slot you can start screwing and it will guide itself in and then, not cross-thread and go in properly. That said, with all 40mm and 60mm filters that screw in, this is the process you want to use. Nice and simple, works every time, but don't forget to try and purge your mask afterwards. If it has an exhale valve you can cover up, which I can't really demonstrate with this mask. You do that and then it would, expand the entire mask and push air around from all sides. If not, just do a big breath out from what's left in your lungs, and that will, get it all out if anything did get into the mask, so you can start clean breathing again. So there you go, that's how you swap a filter on a gas mask.